in the following paid program do not necessarily represent those of WJZ AM 1300, CBS Radio, its employees and sponsors.
This is AHA Business Radio, creating AHA moments for business, by business, and about business, providing opportunities to discover information to help you run your business and guide your decision making. The more you know, the better decisions you make. AHA Business Radio is produced by Alan Hirsch Advisors. For more information, log on to ahabusinessradio.com. To join in tonight's conversation, call 410-481-1300. Now, here's your host for AHA Business Radio, Alan Hirsch.
Good evening. Welcome to tonight's show. Tonight is I'll be spotlighting 4 business owners in the Baltimore area. Jeanette Young of Comfort Care, Scott Sheldon of Sheldon & Sons Painters, Christopher Schaefer of Christopher Schaefer's Clothier, and Karina Morgan, a CR Services that is a commercial cleaner. My first guest in the studio with me now is Jeanette Young of Comfort Care. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
It's my pleasure. I always ask my guests this question: what motivates you to get up in the morning and go to work?
What motivates me is the impact I can have on others. I love helping others and helping to care for others. I love mentoring, developing, motivating others. That's what we do to get things done. But along the way, if I can help somebody, then that's a good thing.
So what is Comfort Care, and what do you do? And then the question I like to ask is, how'd you get started in that?
Okay.
Without going through the prior years, but why'd you pick that business, and how'd you get started in it?
Okay. I am the owner and president of Comfort Care Home Care Services. My office is located in Baltimore County, specifically in Randallstown, Maryland. We cover Baltimore County, Baltimore City, and Carroll County. There are 6 Comfort Care franchises in the state of Maryland. We have about 165 Comfort Cares throughout the United States and Canada. We offer personal care and companionship to persons in need. We are licensed by the state of Maryland to provide care for anyone 18 and older. Most of our clients are seniors. However, we have taken care of persons who are 18 to 102. I love what I do. We have a great team of RNs and certified nursing assistants and geriatric nursing assistants, home health aides, and a great staff. So we provide care in the Baltimore area. Our caregivers are great caregivers. I have some caregivers who have been with me for as long as I've been in business, and I've been in business for over 8 years. I decided on the home care business because there is a great need. There is a great need because we're growing older, living longer lives. We have
just throw in something here from one of the things I'm involved in. Baltimore County is probably the second or third demographically oldest counties in the country. Mm-hmm. And getting older at about 1%, when you think about older, age 60 and above, Baltimore County is second or third highest percentage of those over the age of 60 in the country. And we're growing at 1%, about 1% a year. Mm-hmm. So in 2030, I think it'll be over 30% of the Baltimore County population will be over the age of 30. So you found a business with a need to help people that makes sense.
Yes. We help baby boomers who are sandwiched between their parents and their children. So we're able to help baby boomers help their moms and dads, aunts and uncles, and friends, church members, neighbors, to be able to stay in their homes. So with the help of having a caregiver there for anywhere from 4 hours a day to 24/7, we do it. This enables us, myself included, to be able to continue our lives with our sons and daughters and husbands and not feel guilty about not being there 24/7 for our parents. So we can do things like take mom or dad to the grocery store, or to follow up on a doctor's appointment, or to take someone to outpatient surgery and bring them home. So my office is certified as a transition of care office and a dementia-wise office. So our caregivers are trained in picking someone up from the hospital or taking someone to the hospital, maybe bringing them home or stopping on the way to pick up prescriptions.
And I'm sure you also, I know you are, I believe you are, also authorized if someone is in the hospital and because as much as we think the hospitals give the best care, sometimes it's important and the family wants to have someone actually in the hospital during daylight hours or even over, depending how they want to provide that companionship and make sure they get the right kind of care because the family can't be there during the stay in the hospital. So you can actually provide staffing for your clients in the hospital as well.
That's right, exactly right, for stays in the hospital. And not just for hospitals, maybe nursing homes, even assisted livings. Our caregivers have helped out there for that extra layer of oversight, safety, and communication back to the family for updates. Sometimes the family is out of town. So part of the plan of care for the caregiver is to provide updates, maybe daily or weekly, on the care that's being received and how that loved one is being cared for and also the status of that loved one.
Okay. So in your 8+ years of doing business, do you consider, what do you consider some of the core values you have in how you treat and the culture, I guess, that you create within your business in order to treat both the customers and your caregivers?
Oh, I can think of several adjectives: integrity, trust, confidence. One of the questions that my nurse developed for our caregivers upon interviewing was defined integrity. One of the challenges or concerns that some sons and daughters have is my mom or dad going to be safe in the care of your caregiver? So we want to really provide the confidence to that family member that we will provide a safe environment. We will maintain the good status and health of that client and follow through with the plan of care. So it's very, very important to not only myself, but to my caregivers and to the clients we serve and their families.
So, and so you've created that integrity, and that's something you make sure you have and all your caregivers have in order to, one, you want to take care of your caregivers. Right. So that they take care of their. Exactly. And hopefully they'll love them. I mean, love their company. There's a saying that I use in business: if your employees don't love the company, why should the customers? That's right. Or in other words, turn it around, customers aren't going to love it unless the employees love it.
That's right. We have to create a good environment for our caregivers. And of course, the healthcare field, sometimes the pay can be challenging, but there are other rewards. I hire caregivers who actually do care. And then we have bonus programs, and we have incentive programs, and we have training and development programs throughout the year for the caregivers. So that's an incentive for me to retain caregivers. It's an incentive for the caregivers to stay on board.
So you really believe in taking care of your caregivers and making them feel comfortable and being part of your business?
Most definitely. Because as you stated, it filters to the client. Right. If the caregiver is not happy, that's not a good thing.
So if you were asked, as an entrepreneur 8 years ago, you went into business, your own business, having worked for others, what's one piece of advice you would give an aspiring entrepreneur if you had the opportunity?
I would say do your homework on any industry that you're considering. Know the business. Go out and talk to different people. I did that. Talk to people. Look at financial spreadsheets, get an idea of the market that you're considering, ask questions. I think that's very, very important. Speak to people who are in the business. Create a good stamina for yourself because you need to be healthy, you need to be strong, and you got to prepare yourself. I think that's all very important.
And I would add, for me, it's one other thing, having a passion for what you're doing, which you sound like you have.
I do.
And a dream.
Yes.
And the rest with the homework goes into practice. We're going to have to go, so go to our first break. Before I do so, Janet, how can the listeners reach you if they need your services?
Okay, again, we are Come For Care, home care services, no T, COMFORCARE. Our number is 410-922-6262. The website is www.comeforcare.com. Add the / Baltimore-Carroll to get my office, or just go to www.comeforcare.com.
I want to thank you very much for being here. As I go to the commercial break, I want to thank you, and when we come back, I will be talking to Scott Sheldon of Sheldon & Sons. And later in the show, I will have the AHA Business Trivia Contest.
Thank you, Alan.
I am Alan Hirsch of Alan Hirsch Advisors, and this is AHA Business Radio on CBS Sports Radio, 1300 AM.
Now back to AHA Business Radio, creating aha moments for business, by business, and about business. Once again, here's your host, Alan Hirsch.
Welcome back to the show. My guest this segment is Scott Sheldon of Sheldon & Sons Painters. If you have any questions or comments, please give us a call at 410-481-1300. Scott and I would be glad to answer any questions if you have them. So, Scott, first question I always ask, what motivates you to get up in the morning and go to work?
Wow, that's a great question. I work with my family members, so my dad, my brother, my son, my daughters, so we have a great time together, and we get to take care of our clients, so that's what motivates me in the morning to get up and do what we do.
So you're a painter. So what is it that you do out there so try to describe it a little bit, and then if you'll tell me how you got started, and I know it's a great family story. So
yeah, my dad came over here from Ireland in 1964. Shortly thereafter, he started Sheldon & Sons Painting in Baltimore County. I started my company in 1992, and shortly thereafter, he came to work for me, and we work as a team together. So it's him, my brother Michael, we do painting in Baltimore County, Baltimore City, Roland Park, Mount Washington, Howard County as well, so all around the metro area.
You do painting, but you also do wallpapering and the wall coverings, I guess, is the better term.
Yeah, we do wall covering. It's actually the finishing trade, so we do anything related to the finishing trade. So it's caulking, wallpaper, plaster repair, drywall repair, things of that nature. Exactly.
Okay, so you got started as a family business. So what is it about this what is it about you running your business? You've had people working for you. Your dad works for you, and I had that experience in my business. I took my family business over about the same time that you did in the early 80s. So how is it about working as your father working for you? Is there something, and your son I know works for you, and your daughters and your daughter, what is it about a family business that and I guess it's difficult to explain because a family business has its own dynamics. So can you try to explain how it is to work with your family? Yeah,
it's just a level of trust we have with each other. So if we say we're going to do something, we know that it's going to be taken care of. We hold each other accountable. We take it seriously. We want to give our customers next level service is something we talk about a lot. So the contracting business in general doesn't have a great reputation. We give an appointment the hour that we're going to be there. So if we say we're going to be there at 8 o'clock, we're there at 8 o'clock. We send a report card out to everybody that we do work with because we want the feedback from our customers. So the dynamic is there. We talk to each other on a regular basis. And one of our philosophies is to have fun at work. So we try to have fun during the work day and also take care of business at the same time.
So you mentioned a report card after you do your job. What can you describe that for me?
The report card. We were thinking about an online version, and we may switch to that because we have some of our customers now that can book their estimates online and things of that nature. So we definitely want to be technology oriented. But right now, we just mail it out as a postcard, and it says things. For example, did you show up on time? Was your cleanup effort there? Would you hire us again? Would you refer us to your friends and family? So these are things that we want to know on every single project that we do. And actually, 98% of them come back positive. Our goal is 100%, but
I would suggest 98 in business is a pretty good evaluation.
Yeah, it's good feedback because there are some comments on there that we can learn from, and it's definitely you can get caught up in your own bubble when you're in business. So it's important to ask your customer questions. One time I asked my customer, I said, "Why did you hire us?" And I expected to hear, quality and price and things of that nature. And this was the second time we worked for this particular client, and she said, "Scott, when the guys came to the house that morning, after they were here for less than an hour, I felt comfortable leaving for the day, running my errands. I had planned to stay here during the day because I usually do when workmen are in the home, but I felt so comfortable. I went out and ran my errands." And that's the kind of impression and what we want to do for our customers when we're relating to them.
So you really want your customers to trust you, particularly when you're in someone's home.
Absolutely. Yeah.
To trust you to be the honest and integrity of what you're doing.
Yeah, I think it's especially in home improvement business because a lot of people don't even give a second thought to who's in their home. Some people do, and they're the ones that do their homework, and it's so important to have good, reliable people doing work in your home.
Yeah. One of the things we talked about in the report card, one of the things that I used to ask in business, and I recommend for my clients, is another question is, what can we do? Even if they give you a 98% rating, I always used to ask the question, what can I do? What can I do better to improve the service, the products and services I sell? Because in answering that, as well as telling you you've done a good job, they can tell you how you can actually do a better job, which is a way to improve your company.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to add that one to the questionnaire because that's great. Absolutely, because they can see things that you can't see from a different perspective. Absolutely.
Absolutely, and I've always thought that was a great question to ask people. So, where do you think your business is going to go in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, continue to do what we're doing and improve. So we don't have any great strategies for growth. It's controlled growth. So we want to continue to serve our current client base, and we're going to branch out into pressure washing as well. We've actually invested in that.
Is that exterior? That's more exterior than interior?
Yep, absolutely. Because in pressure washing, there's companies that come out and they don't use chemicals or they don't use solutions to do the cleaning. Then basically they don't know what they're doing. So we have somebody that's been trained. He went to training for it. He's got all the equipment, and we send him out, and the goal is to grow that portion of the business over the upcoming years.
Okay. So your employees, you've had long-standing employees in the company as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, some of them have been with us 22, 18, 17 years. So absolutely.
What are you doing, and maybe you're not sure, but what are you doing to make sure they're loyal and they stay with you rather than, in the construction trades, people go from place to place. Mm-hmm. So what is it that you're doing that is keeping your employees loyal?
What we do is engage them on a regular basis. So, meaning talk to them, be genuinely interested in them and their lives and their family. So it's not just another $1 an hour or $2 an hour. But it's some of the guys like time off, so extra time off. Some of the guys like Raven games. Some of them went. Fishing trips, but just to regularly stay engaged with them, talk to them, let them know that they're valued and cared for. I think people really appreciate that. And if you could do that on a regular basis and keep your people close to you and let them know that you care about them. It's I try to read a lot of business books, and that's what Lou Holtz talks about in one of his very good books.
It's interesting. I was in the first segment with Jeanette. We talked about taking care of employees, and Simon Sinek uses it. If your employees don't love your company, why should the customers?
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of business, we spend so much time on the customers, but our number one customer is our employees, and that company culture is so important. Yeah, absolutely.
So one last question before we go into the break. If you were meeting with or a group of people or someone that, or talking to someone that wanted to go into business, what is one or two pieces of advice you would give them?
I would tell them to work on themselves first. So a lot of people, they want to make more money, or they want a car, or they want things of that nature. But the number one thing I think that a business person could do is work on themselves. So develop good daily habits that are going to empower them. I think that's probably the number one thing that I would tell them to do. And
I'm a firm believer that good leaders continue to learn.
Absolutely.
Which help. In other words, if you're a good learner,
yep.
You can learn more, you can develop skills, you can work more, you can do better. If you continue to improve yourself, you can improve the people within your organization and help them. And leadership is something that's learned. So, as you said, you've read a couple books like Lou Holtz's book and some other things that are out there that can really make a difference by growing yourself, as you say, as well as trying to grow and help your employees. One final question. How can the listeners out there reach you if they need some painting or wallpapering or wall coverings internal in their house or their building?
Well, I'd like to say this. Twice a year we do a Paint It Forward, sort of like a Pay It Forward thing. So it's Paint It Forward. So if anybody has a charity or knows somebody that's down and out that needs some painting work done, so it's up to $5,000 in painting and labor, they can go to our website, which is painting@sheldonandsons.com. There's a form right there, and they can nominate either an individual or organization. We have an inner city school that we're working with right now. We're getting ready to paint some of their hallways for them, and we do that twice a year. So if anybody has that, please go to our website, painting@sheldonandsons.com.
But they can also reach you if they want, or they're interested in having some paint as well. Same way.
Absolutely, that same email address.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Sheldon, again, I want to thank you for being here. As we go to the commercial break, we have the traffic update, and when I come back, I will be talking to Christopher Schaefer of Christopher Schaefer Clothier. And later in the show, I will have the AHA Business Trivia Contest. I'm Alan Hirsch, and this is AHA Business Radio on CBS Sports Radio 1300 AM.
Now back to AHA Business Radio, creating AHA moments for business, by business, and about business. Once again, here's your host, Alan Hirsch.
Welcome back to the show. My guest this segment is Christopher Schaefer of Christopher Schaefer Clothier, a custom tailor in downtown Baltimore. If you have any questions or comments, please give us a call at 410-481-1300. So, Christopher, thank you for being here.
Thanks for the invite, Alan. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. So what motivates you to get up in the morning and go to work?
That's a great question. Well, I'd probably have to start with just, supporting my family is the main thing. But what I've really seen is that I get the opportunity to dress people for important lives in their, important moments in their lives, whether it's even just the day-to-day, but we work with a lot of grooms making their clothes for their weddings, and then also the work that we're doing with Sharp Dressed Man, where we're recycling the suits and dressing guys to get back up on their feet. So there's something about being involved in the process of helping people dress their best and how they see themselves.
So how did you get started in this business? I know you had an interesting career, but which you still do on the side.
Sure.
But how did you get started, and why did you pick clothing?
So my wife's work sent us to London about a decade ago. So that was where it all kind of started. I went over there for her work. She's an engineer for the government. And right after we were married, we then bought a house, and then right after we bought the house, 3 days later, after closing on the house, we found out that we could move to London. So we lived in the house for that summer, moved to London, and I went over there just figuring that I'm an American with a work visa and I should be fine. And then I found out that it's not that easy. So
I spent a lot of time in London in my publishing days, so it's a great city.
World. It is absolutely amazing, but it's
a different world.
It is, but it was a great place for me to, to get. This is home, but Baltimore's home, so to be able to get away and not have the distractions and everything, and really focus. I was very fortunate. I had a guy. His name is Greg Smith, and he is a headhunter, and he saw my resume, because the way you sort of find work over there is more going through headhunters than it is dealing directly with employers. And he saw my resume and saw something there, and he sort of took me under his wing. And it was interesting too, because he's younger than me. He's probably about he's a good 10 years younger than me, and we just kind of clicked. And he's like, I'm going to help you, and so he was the one that helped me to be able to go and find work, to learn how to design clothes. And at that point, I didn't even own a suit when I moved to London.
So you worked for one of the clothiers on Bond Street?
No. I worked in the city. I'd worked in the financial district. So my, but I would be able to go. I could go to Bond Street, German Street, Savile Row. I would go to all those places and really.
That's the street I thought Savile Row is the one at the men's clothing.
It's amazing to see how it operates and the art of the whole of it's amazing. I mean, I feel like London is the epicenter for men's fashion. Some would say it's Milan, which is they're almost two different. There are two schools of thought, but really, when you go to Europe, the countries are not that far apart. So. You fly from London to Paris. It's like going from Baltimore to Chicago. Pretty much. I mean, it was like a 2-hour train ride when we were over there. You go through the channel. It's something else. So, Europe had a big effect on the aesthetic of what we do, as far as how making the clothes fit and the style that we're kind of getting to be known for.
So you learned that, then you came back to the U.S.
Right, and then I realized it was time for me to start my own business, and that's when I really started to put it together, to realize that I've always been an entrepreneur. It just I had so many of my eggs in the basket of being a musician that I realized that I wasn't just a musician. I was the guy that was managing the band and made sure that we had transportation and lining up the gigs, and we ran a rehearsal space where we practiced. And so I realized it was all those pieces. And then when I was able to kind of just switch gears more into running a business, I realized that I'd sort of been doing that in one form or another for years, but it just had to, change instead of music, it went to fashion.
So you opened a custom tailoring business that you basically learned in London here in Baltimore.
Yes.
How long ago was that?
We're coming up on 7 years this fall.
Okay. So you've grown. What are some of the biggest obstacles you found in growing your business?
Financing. First, the cash flow, probably in general. Just starting, I had to. It was one of those situations where it was time to invest in myself and sort of put your money where your mouth is, right? Because at that point, you're starting a business and you're not getting any business loans or anything like that. You're not tried and true yet. So I had to, I had a 57 Ford convertible that I sold. I had a 1968 Triumph motorcycle that I absolutely loved that had to go. And I had to make some sacrifices to really, to really have some skin in the game. And now I'm at a point where I'm starting to get some of the toys back, which is pretty fun.
That's great. And you also, as part of this clothing, you also do something that I know is, since I've actually been there, and I actually have, as I told you, I have some suits in the trunk of my car I want to give you. As part of your give back to the community, you started the Sharp Dressed Men program. Very briefly, tell us about that.
So we recycle suits to dress guys for job interviews to get back up on their feet. People who couldn't afford to go out and buy the clothes, and a lot of times that's sort of the last hurdle. People go through job readiness programs, and then they're getting ready to interview, and what are you going to wear? And they haven't really, they're not making money to be able to go and buy that. And we've just found is that a lot of people have a lot. It's amazing what people will give away, right? If you're retiring,
it's actually more amazing what they throw away.
That too.
And instead of throwing away, they can give it to sharp dressed men in order to give an opportunity for, as you say, your 1,000 men you've already suited up this year.
Right. Yeah. 2,000 is the number we're looking for this year. But I also find that in the business that I'm in is that the clothing that people want to get rid of, it's when you make that investment in a nice clothing, you don't just want to go stick it in a bag and just throw it away, or just give it somewhere where someone's going to resell it, and we don't sell the clothes. So, it ends up being that it's almost like the clothes have a soul. It's like, if it was someone's lucky suit or whatever, they want to make sure that it sort of goes on down the line.
You're changing, these people have made an effort, the men, the young men, and young in heart, have made an effort in the year, 2 years prior to you giving them to them to change their lives. And
exactly.
You're giving them that last vestige of pride to go out and change their lives.
Thank you. That's the prerequisite. You have to be doing something to be bettering your life. We're not just open to the public. We only work with partner organizations that are doing the things that we're not doing. We just stay in our lane, which is helping to dress the guys. Now, we do have it so we have a chef that's in there. We are only open one day a week. We're open on Wednesdays at noon, and now we have a chef that serves lunch to the guys, and we also have a couple barbers that are in there that'll cut the guys' hair for free too, and they get suited up. So it's a lot goes on in a couple hours time.
Well, it's a wonderful organization that I've known about for, I guess, since about a year and a half, 2 years ago, that I've been familiar with, and it's amazing what you've done.
Thank you.
In the last minute or so before you go, you say you're an entrepreneur. So what one piece of advice would you give to somebody who wanted to go into business? What would you say to them?
Hold on tight. You just got to hold on tight. If you believe in yourself and you know that you have something that's there, and you can position yourself to save as much as possible, to live as lean as possible for as long as possible, as you're ultimately betting on yourself. It's like when it all starts to turn and it starts to work, but then you have to constantly keep reinvesting in yourself, and that's where I am right now. But I'm having a very and you got to you do have to love what it is that you do, because I don't think I've ever worked this hard in my life.
If you don't have I'm a firm believer. If you don't have a passion to do it, the 60 to 80% of the time when you actually aren't working on the passion, you've got to be able to get through that. If you have that passion in yourself and in what you're doing, it can really work. Finally, how can the listeners reach you if they want that custom-made suit that really makes them look $1 million?
Okay, so our website is ChristopherSchaefer.com. That's Christopher, last name Schaefer, SCHAFER.com, or sharpdressman.org is the website for the recycled suit program.
Well, again, I want to thank you for being here, Christopher, and for what you're doing with the Sharp Dressed Man. It really helps our community, and I want to thank you for that and for what you do. When we come back from the commercial break, I will have the AHA Business Trivia Contest. The winner will receive a gift certificate to the Capitol Grill, and I will be talking to Karina Morga, who is at CR Services. I'm Alan Hirsch, and this is AHA Business Radio on CBS Radio 1300 AM.
Now back to AHA Business Radio, creating AHA moments for business, by business, and about business. And now it's time for tonight's AHA Trivia Question, where you can win great prizes from the AHA Business Radio Show. Call 410-481-1300 if you know the answer. And now, with tonight's AHA Trivia Question, here's your host, Alan Hirsch.
Well, welcome back. Trivia question is, Sylvester Stallone, Bruce Willis, and Arnold Schwarzenegger were the owners of which restaurant chain? If you think you know the answer, give us a call at 410-481-1300. And the winner of the correct answer will receive a gift certificate to the Capitol Grill, which is one of my favorite restaurants in town, and I try to go there as often as I can. So please give us a call. Again, Sylvester Stallone, Bruce Willis, and Arnold Schwarzenegger were the owners of which restaurant chain? Joining me in the studio this segment is Karina Morga, president owner of CR Services.
That's correct.
Thank you, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Sir Hirsch.
You don't use names, sir. I haven't been knighted yet. So what motivates you to get up in the morning and go to work?
Well, that's an interesting question. My girls, the people that work for me. It's kind of how I started the business. Being a woman, I'm passionate about women and children. But it's hard getting up to work every day because you know it's you that the responsibility lies on you and you have to. But I do it for them.
Okay, so you do it to help women, help your girl. How many? You're talking about your own daughters?
No children.
Okay, so you're talking about when you talk about your girls, you're talking about the women that work for you.
That is correct.
And what is it you do, and how'd you get started?
So I own a commercial cleaning business here in Baltimore City. I had, after I graduated college, I was in research at Hopkins School of Public Health, and I wanted to go and kind of save the world, one little child at a time. And then I realized I had to make some money, so I moved to D.C., and I did corporate America for a little bit, which that was very exhausting. And so after that, I decided to go to Honduras and teach English and come back and try to go to law school and save the world, one little child at a time. And I got accepted on the condition that I would take the LSAT maybe for the 6th time, and decided that God was kind of telling me to play a different card in life. So that's kind of like how I fell into it. Somebody had suggested to me, you should be a business owner. And I was like, what are you talking about? And luckily for my grandmother, when I was in college, she guilted me into minoring in Spanish. So after I had studied abroad and I learned how to speak Spanish and had volunteered, they said, well, you speak Spanish, so why don't you just start a business? And boom, there you go. I started a cleaning company. So I was fortunate enough to be surrounded by good friends and family from Harford County, and they supported me a lot in the beginning stages. They let me trial on their houses, learned how to clean their house. 5 years later, I've fallen into this construction niche with Baltimore's booming economy, and I'm just out there kind of supporting the blue collar world, baby.
So what do you, in the construction industry, what are you doing? What are you doing in cleaning the construction industry?
So, construction cleaning, we're kind of the tushy wipers, I would say. So it's really important before they turn that building over to the owner that it's to the standard that the owner wants it. And a lot of times it's cleaning up after all of those subcontractors, and they can be messy.
I'm sure, having had hired contractors in my own home, I know how messy they can be.
Exactly. So I take pride in just kind of providing a service where I was very detail oriented. We call it a punch list, phased, like rough, powder puff, final clean service where I bring my girls in and we just tackle the building and do everything that we can to make sure it's ready for our customer.
So how long have you been in business?
Been in business for 5 years.
And where do you want that business to be in the next 5 years, say?
So, I realized as a business when I first started, there was a lot that I didn't know, and then I've come after being in business for 5 years, I'm like, oh my goodness, there's so much more to learn. And I'm I've gotten to a point where I realize there's a lot of resources for startups, but there's not so many resources for businesses that are like small to mid-size that are trying to take it to that next level, kind of like what you're talking about. So, I'd like to learn how to really scale to become Baltimore's kind of premier.
I hate to promote myself on the radio, but that's what I do. I work with as a executive coach for small and mid-sized businesses. So off the air, we can talk about that. But that's and there are other people like me out there that do that.
I've learned.
Right.
Yes.
But
Thank you.
love to help you. But so where do you want it to be? I know you have some challenges, as all businesses do.
Absolutely.
So talking about that, what has been one of the major challenges you faced in the first 5 years?
First 5 years. The balance of the work-personal life is a big one. But in the different industries that I've started starting with residential, going into commercial, and phasing into construction, there's a lot to learn about every single industry, and every client is different, and you have to really be service-oriented to maintain the business, but you also have to be able to be a good example and a good boss for your employees, people that work for you. And it's just a management of all of that sometimes can get frustrating, but it's been a challenge, but you learn and grow.
And so the biggest challenge you faced is really in maintaining and dealing with your employees?
Not necessarily dealing with them, but it's keeping everybody happy. It's keeping the client happy. It's keeping my girls happy. Cleaning is a monotonous kind of job. It's not like nobody wakes up in the morning and says, "Woohoo, let's go clean, guys." It just doesn't happen. So it's just kind of being more. It's figuring out how I can be more for them so that they can keep them motivated, keep delivering the good service that I say that I put my name to, and taking care of them. And it's just been.
It's very interesting you say that. Of the three guests, you're the third guest we've talked about the importance of taking care of their employees.
Number one.
And I use an expression: if a customer is not going to love the company unless the employees love it first.
Exactly. No one's going to do a good job for you unless they like you.
Yeah, right. And that's something that you've talked about that, and so have two of the other guests tonight. So it's really been an interesting theme about how you take care of your customers by making sure you take care of your employees.
Absolutely.
Just while I have a second here, just to remind everybody the trivia question, 410-481-1300. If you think you know the answer, it's Sylvester Stallone, Bruce Willis, and Arnold Schwarzenegger were the owners of which restaurant chain? Please give us a call. Love to give you that gift certificate to the Capitol Grill. And if no one calls, unfortunately, I can't use it. So, but look forward to being able to give it away.
I know the answer.
I know you do. You know the question, but please don't answer it because you won't get it. Maybe in the end of the conversation, if no one calls, I'll ask you to for the question.
Somebody phone in. Phone a friend.
Okay. But anyway, so you're talking, and I also know you're working with the Maryland Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. The phone line's not working? Okay. We did have a caller, John Camp, called in, and he didn't want to be on the air, so...
Come on, John.
So he had the correct answer, which is Planet Hollywood.
Oh.
And so, John, thank you for calling. It's not... don't worry about it next time. If you have the answer to the trivia question, I'll be nice to you. Anyway, thank you for calling, and we'll send that out to you in the next few days. And thank you for that. So, if you were talking to another entrepreneur, someone who wants to go into business, what is a piece of advice you would give them?
Find a mentor. Honestly, find a mentor. And it doesn't have to be specifically related to your industry that you're going into business, but somebody who has gone through some trials and tribulations and has gone through certain successes and failures, and you can just pick up the phone or shoot an email to just ask a question just to get their advice. Not to say that you have to take it, but just that you have a reliable resource there from somebody who speaks from a position of experience, I think would have been so valuable for me.
You did not have one.
I did not. And I was scared, there's a sense of pride that you take, I think, as a business owner, and you're starting up and you don't want to seem vulnerable and you got to be, the face of the company. But there were some moments where I wish I would have known a couple people that I know now, where I would have been able to pick up a phone and just like, hey, what do you think about this?
I think that's very important. I'm a believer. All the great athletes of the world have coaches or mentors. So, and they're the best at what they do. And entrepreneurs like yourself out there, they really don't know it, and sometimes they don't know what they don't know.
Right, exactly.
And they need to, when they aren't sure, just someone out there to help them either say that they're on the right direction.
Right.
Or to suggest other ways to move.
Exactly. Like someone to give you that little bit of confidence or that.
Yeah. Absolutely. We have to go.
Okay.
So winding up, first question is, how can people reach you if they want your cleaning services?
You can go to my website. It's www.crsvs.us. You can reach us by phone, 443-655-6252. Or you can shoot an email to info@crsvs.us.
Again, thank you for being here, Karina.
Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. I want to thank my producer, Joe LaCroix.
Hey, Joe.
My videographer, Larry Wilner of LW BizFlix, who videotapes some of the shows. You can go on YouTube at AHA Biz Radio if you want to see some of them. My guest next week, if you'll join me at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, will be Troy Brewer of the BGW Financial Consulting Group of Wells Fargo Advisors. We're going to talk about some of the financial advice, but not advice itself, but what you should be look for when you go after a financial advisor and what they can do. I'm Alan Hirsch of Alan Hirsch Advisors, your host. To reach me, call 443-977-4500. This has been AHA Business Radio on CBS Sports Radio, 1300 AM.